Prison and inculcating some of those themes and some of the work that you all do as very support staff. And just parenthetically, what I do currently I'm also a TRIO alumnus. I was an Upper Bound alumnus in San Francisco where I grew up. I was also director of SSS for a couple years in Skyline College, where I also taught early childhood education. I was chair of our early childhood education department. I wrote a class that's been institutionalized at that college for our TRIO learning community, which is one of the bedrocks of this discussion today. And that class is restorative justice, dismantling the school to prison pipeline, and early childhood education. So to that end, what I'm doing now is I oversee support programs as Dean of Academic Affairs at Laney College in Oakland, California. We have the largest population of veteran first gen and Black diasporic students in the Bay Area of any community college. I also direct a nonprofit that I co-founded with one of my partners, Hip Hop Chess Federation. Our website is hiphopchessfederation.org if you're interested, where we work with formerly incarcerated juveniles throughout the Bay Area. And we work with those students using a nexus of martial arts, hip hop pedagogy, as well as chess to imbibe leadership skills with students who are matriculating from continuation high schools and juvenile halls into mainstream high schools. And then I also teach at San Quentin Prison through Stanford, where I did my graduate work in the Prison University Project. So I teach critical thinking to inmates who are students in the Prison University Project at San Quentin in San Rafael, California. Are there any California residents in the room? No? Okay, great. But TRIO works. I appreciate you all being here. And so I'll refer back to this title page, but in the interest of our time and out of respect for my colleague who has volunteered her time and space today to be with us and share her infinite knowledge, I'd like to present my colleague, my mentor, my family, my big sister, Dr. Bettina Love.
What up, Georgia? Anybody from the great state of Georgia? Oh, that's awesome. Everybody's from everywhere. So I am not from Georgia. I'm an upstate New Yorker, but Georgia is my home. I've been here for the last 10 years, so welcome. I'm at the University of Georgia, and I am just honored that Arash asked me to be on this panel and to speak to you guys. Sadly, I'm not a TRIO person. I went to school on a basketball scholarship. If that probably didn't happen, I would be a TRIO kid. So today, what I really want to do is set the stage for why hip-hop-based education is important, why hip-hop is important. Why should we even be thinking about that as we think about first-generation college students and individuals from the Black diaspora? So the first thing, as I welcome you to Atlanta, I want to welcome you to the home of Asa Hilliard. Asa Hilliard was one of the leading scholars in thinking about African-American youth, Africa, and what it brings to African-American kids and how we can re-energize those individuals. And Asa, until he made his transition in 2007, was an esteemed endowed professor at Georgia State and my mentor. And he would go around the country speaking about excellence. The world really talking about excellence. And he would find a school where everyone says those kids in that school can't perform, they can't learn. And he would go into that school and he would watch amazing teachers, amazing administrators, make sure that those kids not only excel, outperform the highest performing rich school in that city. That was his work. He was dedicated to that. He was dedicated to showing individuals that these kids that you say can't learn, can learn. And this is one of his most famous quotes. I've never encountered any children in any group who are not geniuses. There's no mystery how to teach them. The first thing to do is to treat them like human beings. And the second thing you do is love them.
That's right.
That is one of his quotes that is the foundation of my school here in Atlanta. So I'm the board chair of a school called Kendesi. And we have 2 locations in Atlanta.
What is the name? I'm sorry.
Kendesi, so it's kind, easy eye. And the name of the school was given to us by Dr. Hiller before he made his transition. And we have one location on the west side of Atlanta and another location on the Old Fourth Ward. And the Old Fourth Ward is King's District. And what we do at that school is we strive for excellence. The reason why we have two locations is because our first location did so well. And so we took the kids that no one said could learn, and we're outperforming all the rich neighborhoods here in Atlanta, using ACE's model and using hip hop. And the reason why it's important is to understand what Dr. Hood was meaning. If you look at formal education in our society, in the US particularly, formal education is only about 200 years old. That means, as human beings, informal education is how we learn. This idea of being in a classroom, this idea of measuring student success, this idea of a teacher in public education, this is a novel idea, really. Indigenous folks have been learning, have been creating, have been masters at their crafts and arts for thousands of years. This little slither right here is formal education, as we know it in society. So how in the world have we gotten here? And we've only known education in this context for the last 200 years. This is formal education. This is the roots of formal education. And I use this picture because this is what they intended. The students that you and I are interested in are not in this picture, are not in this equation, and it wasn't intended for them. So we're starting in a model that denies who they are, denies their indigenous roots to learning, and then places them in an education system that never wanted them there anyway. So now we have a factory model versus a village model. And in the factory model, it's cheaper, it's cost-driven, relationships, love, not important, it's basic, and it's not about the individual needs, the creativity, what drives. And it's a banking model of education coming off that Paulo Freire, right? That notion that we're going to put stuff in you, and at a certain point we're going to take it out. And that's called testing. But in that family model, it's holistic. It's driven by the ideas and the creativity and the ingenuity of children. It's relationships. This is about love here, people. It's holistic. Well, thank you. I ain't got to do no more then. It's holistic. It's broader than just like basic training. And it's individualized. And if this is the kind of education we say our kids want, and it's student active, engaging them in learning, this is what we need. But when we don't get that, we get what you call an opportunity gap. It's not that our kids can't learn, you haven't given them an opportunity, but you haven't been giving them opportunity because the education system was not meant for them. So they don't get the resources, they don't get the curriculum, they don't get the best qualified teachers. But then we start talking about an achievement gap. It's an opportunity gap. And so what Asa would always say, what Dr. Hiller would always say, he would say there are profound models for excellence in education. Profound models. We engage as if these models just started last week. Oh, we just got Common Core. We got to hop on Common Core. Oh, we just got this. We got to roll on that. Oh, we got this model. But if we understand the idea of education has been happening for thousands of years, there are models to go to. And one of those models is hip hop. If you look here on this graph, in 2007, the National Geographic did this wonderful spread on the history of hip hop. And if you see here, I'm going to be real snazzy with my little boom, boom, boom. Right? If you see here, you have the griots. And the griots are African storytellers. And you can start to trace these sensibilities, these mindsets, these traditions. And now we got a history to go on. Now we got a ways of being to go on. And some of the things, you probably can't see it, but it talks about call and response. That's what's happening right here in this crowd. How do you know to do that? Because it's in you. Somebody asked you. I didn't say, please Please let me know if you like what I'm talking about. You just go. The idea of improvisation. These things are not new that kids in hip hop are doing. It's not new, but it's in them already. And that's why we talk about why hip hop is important, because hip hop is drawing on what is already inside them. It's drawing on that legacy. It's drawing on the narratives that are new, but bringing it back to what is old. And my mentor, Cynthia Dillard, says this: too often we have been seduced into forgetting. And given the power of our memories, the radical act of remembering is our present lives and work. That is, remembering is an act of decolonization. Yes. Recalling who you are, remembering who you are, understanding who you are is an act of decolonization.